Imagine you've learned the truth, something significant, something that shatters your worldview. Perhaps you've recognized a lie within the political system, seen the toxicity in family traditions, or simply realized that the conventional path to success is a dead end. Your first impulse is the most natural and noble one. You run to your friends, your family, your colleagues. You want to save them. You want to open their eyes. You offer them this truth as a precious gift, expecting them to say, "Thank you. Now we understand." But instead of gratitude, you see not enlightenment in their eyes, but fear. And then a cold, unyielding aggression. You are called crazy. You are mocked. They stop talking to you. In your attempt to help, you have become public enemy number one. Why does this happen? In the classic film The Matrix, there is a moment that perfectly describes this tragedy. Morpheus tells Neo, "You have to understand, most of these people are not ready to be unplugged, and many of them are so inured, so hopelessly dependent on the system, that they will fight to protect it." This is a harsh lesson that every thinking person must learn the hard way. We believe that truth is a light that everyone is drawn to. But history teaches us the opposite. If you try to force people's eyes open, they will not be grateful. They will try to destroy you. Remember Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake for saying the universe was infinite. Remember Martin Luther King Jr. Remember how the person who points out management's mistakes gets ostracized in the office. Remember the family dinners that end in a shouting match over one inconvenient question. Being a dissenter is dangerous. Society perceives you not as a savior, but as a virus threatening the health of the organism. And this social organism has a powerful immune system designed for one purpose: to silence you. To understand how to survive in a world that hates your questions, we must return to the beginning, to the man who asked the most important question and paid for it with his life. We must return to Athens, to Socrates. But first, let's understand why people love their chains so much. To understand the aggression of the crowd, you must stop seeing people as villains. You need to see them as biological organisms whose primary goal is to survive. Our brain did not evolve to seek truth with a capital T. It evolved to keep us from dying alone on the savannah. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, the rule was simple: stay with the herd and live. Be cast out for dissent and die in the jaws of a predator. Conformity is not a moral failing. It is a powerful survival instinct hardwired into our DNA. Imagine an ancient tribe. Everyone suddenly starts running in one direction. You have a choice. You can stop and critically analyze the situation. Is there really a lion? Is there proof of a threat? Or you can just run with everyone else. The one who asked questions usually didn't leave descendants. The one who ran survived. We are the descendants of those who ran. Therefore, when you offer someone an opinion that goes against their tribe, be it family, colleagues, or a political party, their brain doesn't register it as an intellectual challenge. It registers it as a threat to their life. You are offering them social death. Furthermore, truth is always a burden. Truth is inconvenient. Truth demands change. If you admit your career is meaningless, you have to quit and face the unknown. If you admit your relationship is toxic, you have to go through the pain of a breakup. If you admit the ideology you served is false, you have to accept that you wasted years of your life. This is painful. It is frightening. It requires an immense amount of energy. Illusion, on the other hand, is a warm bath. It is a soft blanket. It says, everything is fine, you're doing everything right, the world is understandable and predictable. Ignorance truly is bliss, because it offers a sense of security and peace. When you try to take away a person's illusions, you are not just giving them facts. You are yanking them out of a warm bed into the cold reality. You are taking away the foundation upon which their self-esteem and peace of mind are built. You think you are Prometheus, bringing fire. But to them, you are an arsonist trying to burn down their cozy home, and they will defend that home with a ferocity you never expected. This tragic dynamic was best described by Plato in his famous myth, a myth we all learned in school but likely missed its most terrifying part. Let's imagine a cave, a deep, dark underground prison. People have been sitting in it since birth. They are chained so tightly they cannot move. They can't even turn their heads. All they can see is the blank stone wall in front of them. Behind them, far above, a fire burns. Between the fire and the prisoners, there is a path where people carry various objects, statues, animal figures, tools. The firelight casts shadows of these objects onto the wall before the prisoners' eyes. For these people, the shadows are not just images, they are reality. It is the only thing they have ever known. They give the shadows names, they argue about them, they build entire sciences around how one shadow follows another. Now imagine that one of the prisoners is freed. His chains are broken and he is forced to stand up. Will he be happy? No. His muscles have atrophied, every movement is agony. He is forced to turn toward the fire. The light, which he has never seen, burns his eyes, which are accustomed to darkness. He cries, he wants to turn away, to return to his familiar, safe shadows. But he is dragged further. He is forcibly hauled up a steep, rocky slope toward the cave's exit, and he is pushed out into the sunlight. At this moment, he is completely blinded. The sun is pure agony for him. He needs time, a lot of time, for his eyes to adjust. At first, he can only make out silhouettes, then reflections in the water, and finally, he sees the world itself. The trees, the sky, the stars, the sun. He understands that his entire past was an illusion, that his reality was just a pathetic shadow play. He is overwhelmed with joy and pity for those who remain below. He decides to return. He descends back into the darkness to tell his companions the truth, to set them free. But when he enters the cave, his eyes, now accustomed to the sun, can see nothing in the dark. He stumbles, falls, and acts clumsy. The prisoners look at him and laugh. "Look," they say, "he went up and came back blind. His eyes are ruined. Going up there is evil. It's a disease." He tries to explain to them that the real world is up there, that they are living in a lie. He tries to break their chains, and here Plato writes the most terrifying sentence of his dialogue. What would the prisoners do to this man if they could get their hands on him and kill him? They would surely kill him, Plato says. They would kill him not because they are evil, but because he threatens their world. He devalues their entire lives. If he is right, it means they are fools sitting in the dirt. To admit he is right is to destroy their universe. And to protect their illusion, they will destroy the one who brought them light. This is not just an ancient myth, it is an accurate description of what happened to Plato's own teacher, to the man who tried to lead Athens out of the cave. Plato did not write his myth as an abstract fantasy, he wrote it as a report from a crime scene. Because he saw with his own eyes how the prisoners of the cave killed the man who tried to lead them to the light. That man was his teacher, Socrates. We are used to imagining Socrates as a kindly old man whom everyone loved. But the truth is, Athens hated him. Socrates was not a pleasant conversationalist. He was irritating, unbearable, and dangerous. He gave himself the perfect nickname, the gadfly. A gadfly is a large, painfully biting fly that gives livestock no peace. Socrates said, "Athens is like a great, noble horse that has become lazy and sluggish and wants to sleep. I am the gadfly that stings it to wake it up and get it moving." His method was simple and humiliating for those around him. He would go to the marketplace, find a respected man, a general, a judge, a priest, and start asking questions. "You're a general? Excellent. Tell me, what is courage?" The general would give a cliché answer. Socrates would ask a clarifying question that demolished that answer. The general would try again, get confused, and contradict himself. And very quickly, in front of a crowd of students, it became clear the general did not know what courage was. The judge did not know what justice was. The politician did not know what good was. Socrates stripped people of their masks of competence. He showed that the emperor has no clothes. He demonstrated that society was run by people living in illusions and shadows. And as you can imagine, no one likes to be publicly exposed as a fool, especially not people in power. In 399 BC, the patience of the sleeping horse ran out. Socrates was charged with corrupting the youth and inventing new gods. These were false pretenses. Socrates' real crime was that he made people think. The trial of Socrates is a classic example of what we now call cancel culture. It was a trial by mob. 500 jurors, ordinary citizens, decided his fate. Socrates had a chance to save himself. It was hinted to him, "Just be quiet. Stop philosophizing, or leave the city." His friends offered to arrange his escape, but Socrates refused. He said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." For him, to be silent meant betraying the truth. It meant voluntarily returning to the cave and pretending that the shadows were enough. He chose death. He calmly drank a cup of hemlock, a poison that paralyzed his body but could not break his spirit. Democratic Athens, the cradle of civilization, killed a 70-year-old man not because he was a criminal, but because he was a living reproach to their conscience. He was a mirror in which society saw its own ugliness, and in a rage, it shattered that mirror. The story of Socrates is an eternal warning. If you decide to become a gadfly, don't expect the horse to thank you. Expect it to try and swat you with its tail. But why is the reaction so brutal? Why does someone else's opinion cause us not just disagreement, but physical pain and rage? The answer lies in how our brains are wired. Let's look under the hood of this hatred. Why does a calm, rational debate about politics, religion, or lifestyle turn into shouting, insults, and broken relationships in minutes? Why is it that when you present someone with solid facts that destroy their worldview, they don't say, "Oh, thank you, I was wrong"? Instead, they start yelling, their face turns red, and their heart pounds like a cornered animal. Modern neuroscience gives us a frightening answer. For our brain, there is no difference between an intellectual argument and a real physical threat. When someone questions our core beliefs, what we believe in, what we build our identity on, the amygdala in our brain is activated. This is the same ancient region responsible for the fight or flight response. Your conversation partner hears arguments, but their body reacts as if you've swung a club at them. Adrenaline and cortisol flood their bloodstream. The frontal lobes responsible for logic shut down. The animal instinct to defend one's territory takes over. You think you are fighting their logic, but you are actually fighting their biology. Psychologists call this cognitive dissonance. It is a state of acute mental discomfort when two conflicting ideas clash in the mind. I am a good and smart person, and I have believed a lie my whole life. Holding both of these thoughts simultaneously is painful. It's almost a physical pain. And to get rid of this pain, the brain chooses the easiest path. It doesn't change the belief, that's long and difficult. It destroys the source of the information. That is, you. At this moment, what could be called the psychic immune system kicks in. Imagine that a person's beliefs are their mental skeleton. Everything rests on it: their self-esteem, their friends, their plans for the future, their understanding of good and evil. And then you come along and say, "Listen, this load-bearing bone here, it's rotten, let's remove it." You are offering them the truth, but what they hear is the threat of a total collapse. If they agree with you, they will have to rebuild their entire personality from scratch. They will have to admit they were a fool. They might have to quarrel with their tribe. The price of enlightenment is too high. This is precisely why the backfire effect works. When you give a fanatic facts that contradict their faith, they don't change their mind. On the contrary, their belief only grows stronger, because now they have to defend themselves, and they mobilize all their psychic resources to find justifications for their lie. You cannot break through this wall with logic, because the wall is not made of logic. It is made of emotion, fear, and the need to belong. Socrates died because he underestimated the power of this immunity. He thought people wanted to know the truth, but people want to feel safe, and anyone who threatens that safety is perceived as a dangerous virus that the social organism must isolate or destroy. But while in Socrates' time this virus of dissent spread slowly through conversations in the public square, today we have built a machine that amplifies this conflict billions of times over. We have built a digital cave from which there seems to be no escape. If Plato were alive today, he wouldn't have needed to invent the metaphor of the cave. He could have just walked into a subway car or a cafe and seen people glued to their smartphones. We are still sitting in a cave, chained to a wall. Only now, our chains are wireless, and the shadows on the wall are broadcast in 4K resolution. We have created a digital cave, one that is far more difficult to escape than Plato's. Why? Because this new cave is personalized. Social media algorithms are the new puppeteers. But unlike the ancient priests, they know you better than you know yourself. They know what makes your heart beat faster. They know what you fear and whom you hate. And their goal is not to show you the world as it is. Their goal is to keep you glued to the screen. And the best way to do that is to feed you what you want to see. You fall into what sociologists call an echo chamber or a filter bubble. If you hold left-leaning views, the algorithm will only show you smart leftists and stupid, evil right-wingers. If you're on the right, it's the reverse. You stop seeing reality. You see only endless confirmation of your own rightness. You hear only the echo of your own voice, reflected off digital walls. This creates the illusion that all normal people think the way you do. And those who think differently are not just people with another opinion. They are crazy, evil monsters. In Athens, Socrates could go to the public square and talk to anyone. Today, that is almost impossible. We are separated by the invisible walls of algorithms. And when a stranger breaks into your bubble with an inconvenient fact, the reaction is 1,000 times more aggressive than in ancient times. Today's hemlock is the report button, the block button, or public shaming. Cancel culture is ostracism on steroids. You don't need a court ruling to destroy a person. A viral tweet taken out of context is enough. To be Socrates in 2024 is to be prepared for digital death. If you dare to say, wait, what if our party is wrong? Or what if this trend is harmful? The system won't argue with you. It will cancel you. It will label you as toxic, a purveyor of misinformation, an enemy. We have created the perfect prison for the mind, where the walls are made of dopamine and the guards are our own likes and shares. And you can't escape just by deleting an app, because the digital cave has already rewired how we think. So how do we survive in this world? How do we maintain clarity of mind, see reality, but not be trampled by the mob that is desperate to protect its cozy shadows? We need survival tools. We need a Socrates method 2.0. So we face a dilemma. On one hand, to remain silent and live a lie is unbearable. On the other, speaking the truth is dangerous because society's immune system will try to destroy you. Does this mean we must choose the fate of Socrates and drink the poison? Not at all. Socrates showed us an example of uncompromising integrity, but we can also learn from his tactical mistakes. Your goal is not to become a martyr. Your goal is to survive and preserve your sanity. To do this, you need to change your strategy. Stop being a preacher shouting from a pulpit. Become a partisan of truth. Here are 3 tools for the seeing to survive in a world of the blind. Tool 1. Socratic irony. The art of the question. The biggest mistake we make is that we start with assertions. You're wrong. Listen to the facts. That's a lie. An assertion is an attack. An attack provokes a defense. The walls go up, the ears close. When Socrates wanted to shatter someone's illusion, he never argued directly. He used what he called maieutics, the art of midwifery. He helped the truth to be born rather than imposing it. Instead of saying, your idea is foolish, ask, that's an interesting thought. How does that fit with this other fact? Help me understand. I seem to be confused. Pretend to be ignorant. Make your counterpart explain their position until they themselves stumble upon a contradiction. Let them draw their own conclusion. A truth a person discovers for themselves becomes their own. A truth forced upon them from the outside is enemy propaganda. Don't be a hammer that shatters walls. Be a mirror in which a person can see their own absurdity. Tool 2, empathy for the prisoners. When you see people defending their chains, your first reaction might be anger or contempt. What idiots! This is a path to isolation and bitterness. You must replace anger with compassion. Remember Plato? Leaving the cave causes physical pain to the eyes. People defend their illusions not because they are stupid, but because they are afraid. Their world is fragile. If you take away their faith in a just king, the right religion, or a stable system, they are left alone with chaos. Don't try to drag people into the light by force. You will blind them and they will hate you for it. If you see that a person is not ready, back away. Leave them be. You don't need to inflict your help. Respect another person's right to remain in the cave until they themselves want to leave. Your job is to show them the door, not push them through it. Tool 3. The law of the hidden tribe. Loneliness is the most terrible punishment for a dissenter. It is what breaks the will. The system will try to convince you, you are the only one. All normal people think differently. There is something wrong with you. Do not believe it. You are not alone. In any crowd, in any group, in any family, there are others who also have doubts. Those who also see the shadows but are afraid to speak up. Your task is to find them. Stop wasting energy on converting fanatics. It's useless. Look for those who already have a question in their eyes. Unite. Create your own small groups, your own chats, your kitchen table meetings, your book clubs. Two people who know the truth are a force that is harder to break than one. Don't try to save the whole world. Start by creating a safe space for yourself and a few like-minded people. These tools do not guarantee that you will be loved, but they do guarantee that you will not become a victim of a senseless slaughter. You will be able to live with your eyes open without drawing fire upon yourself. And this brings us to the final understanding of your role in this world. We began this conversation with the pain of rejection, with that cold feeling that washes over you when the people closest to you look at you as if you were a stranger. And now, at the end of this journey, I must tell you one thing. Something that may seem sad, but is in fact a source of the greatest strength. This feeling of loneliness will never go away. If you have decided to leave the cave, if you have decided to ask questions where others simply nod, if you have decided to seek truth rather than comfort, you are destined for a certain form of isolation. You will always be a bit of an outsider. You will always see the shadows where others see reality. This is the price of admission. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You cannot stick your head back in the sand and sincerely believe that the world is simple and clear. Your mind has awakened and there is no going back. Sometimes, in moments of weakness, you will envy those who remained in the cave. You will look at their carefree smiles, their confidence in tomorrow, their simple joys, and think, God, why can't I be like them? Why do I have this burden of understanding? I just want to be happy. In those moments, remember the words of the great philosopher John Stuart Mill, who took up Socrates' banner, "It is better to be a human being dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied." Ask yourself honestly, are you willing to trade your clarity, your freedom of thought, your ability to see the essence of things in exchange for a well-fed, peaceful, but blind life? Are you willing to give yourself a lobotomy for the sake of comfort? Most likely your answer is no. Because your suffering is a noble suffering, your loneliness is not the isolation of an outcast. It is the solitude of a watchman. Imagine that humanity is a vast, sleeping camp. Most people are asleep in their tents, dreaming the dreams broadcast to them by their culture. But someone has to stay awake. Someone has to sit by the fire, peer into the darkness, and keep the flame alive. You are that watchman. Your job is not to run through the camp, waking everyone up by shouting and waving your arms. They will just get angry and drive you away. Your job is simply to stay awake. Your job is to preserve clarity of mind in a world that is going mad. Your job is to be a guardian of common sense, critical thinking, and humanism. Perhaps in your entire life, you will only help one person to wake up. Maybe it will be your child, maybe a friend, or maybe just a random passerby to whom you ask the right question at the right moment. And that will be enough. You are not obligated to save the world. You are obligated not to let the world extinguish your light. Do not be afraid to be the odd one out. In a flock that is flying toward a cliff, the one flying in the opposite direction always seems crazy. But that one is the only one who knows the way home. Accept your descent not as a curse, but as a supreme responsibility. Wear it with dignity. And remember, even if you are surrounded by darkness and cannot see other lights, you are not alone. There are many of us. We are simply scattered on different hills, guarding the same dawn.